This film was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I suggest you go into it like I did, by not knowing anything about it. I did not know what the plot was, who the characters were, I just knew that it had something to do with the multiverse. And after having seen the movie, I can certainly say that it is pretty great. I'd known the directors of the film had a flair for the weird, and so to prepare myself for the movie, I had seen their other film, Swiss Army Man, and I absolutely adored that movie. I mean, it managed to perfectly balance its humor and themes in such a way that it left an impact. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is very much a Daniels movie. Our protagonist is Evelyn, played brilliantly by Michelle Yeoh, who is a mother, a wife, and a daughter, and is equally challenged in all the roles that she plays. She owns a laundromat and faces a lot of monetary issues, and this is her external conflict. The movie even sets up her internal conflict. Evelyn might possibly divorce her husband Waymond, who's just the sweetest guy. She has trouble reconnecting with her lesbian daughter Joy, as she feels held back by the mindset of her father's generation, who she never feels good enough for. And these are the things that are troubling her. We can root for her despite her being a flawed character. She's too judgmental of her husband and doesn't truly acknowledge him for how integral he has been to her life. She actively harms the relationship she has with Joy instead of really trying to mend it, despite her wanting to deep down. And then begins the inciting incident of the story, which is when the Waymond of a parallel universe warns Evelyn about the dangers regarding the multiverse and how she is the one in charge of saving it. The film inventively showcases her transitioning between universes in a way that I haven't really seen before on film. When the facility is under attack, Evelyn's mission does become to save the multiverse, but it's not because of some external reason. Her motivation is internal and human. She just wants to save her family, and especially her daughter. And I do think that the film has many interesting concepts to which it almost executes them the best way they can. Evelyn can adopt specialties of different Evelyns of different universes and use them to her advantage, and the film has this burst of color and energy popping right off the screen. It isn't afraid to go bonkers and execute even the most ridiculous of concepts with such conviction that it feels suitable to the specific story. And unlike most Marvel movies, it has jokes during serious moments, but never did it once break the tension or emotion of the scene. It surprisingly elevated the quality of the storytelling, which is an extremely hard thing to pull off. The action in this film is spectacular. One of the reasons it works is because of how the action and music are used. The music is in sync with the action on screen, providing for a much more entertaining experience. Someone hitting something with a baseball bat is naturally incorporated into the music of the scene, giving the overall scene some form of rhythm which is used to escalate suspense. And the action is also extremely well choreographed and is reminiscent of many old Jackie Chan movies where the character's purpose to fight is simply to survive and to barely make it out alive, which is also why the fight scenes are not only brutal but also funny. At one point, Evelyn has to stop her opponent from shoving his butt on a trophy to prevent him from regaining his powers, and the film seamlessly executes many clashing tones with impressive prowess. I also love how the film changes aspect ratios depending on the scene and how well it balances the use of visual and practical effects. The practical effects add a sense of tangibility to the movie, and apparently the visual effects team only consisted of 5 people, which is just insane. This movie is also very reminiscent of the original Matrix film, where there's a chosen one who is tasked with the great responsibility to save humanity and completes a character arc that progresses their journey. And although I don't think this film is as great as The Matrix, it still carries out its similarities effectively. Evelyn is later able to see her lives in different universes and begins to be tempted by the luxury that they provide. She is yet to change as a person, and then she learns that the main source of conflict, the person responsible for this mess being caused, is her daughter Joy. And this is great because then her external and internal conflict become directly related, and this leads to Evelyn encountering situations where she has to make difficult choices. After seeing the truth of the other Evelyns and looking back on her past, she makes an internal change of acknowledging her husband and empathizing with her daughter. All the glamorous and stylish violence of the film is not pointless. In the climax of the film, Evelyn overcomes her greatest hurdles through the power of empathy. As Wayman puts it, we must be kind to each other. This film is grand in scale for sure. There are multiple parallel universes, a lot of superhero and kung fu action and whatnot, but it doesn't lose its emotional core about a woman who grows to become a better human being because of the circumstances she faces throughout the course of the movie. And as the title suggests, it feels like this film is trying to be everything all at once, and it's kind of a miracle how the film is far from being a cluttered mess because despite everything absurd happening in the story, it maintains its emotional core effectively. Now, I do not think that the film is flawless since it involves many scientific concepts, a lot of the exposition drags it down a bit. I love the way Spider-Verse tackles this issue by just quickly explaining it through montage so that it does not break the flow of the story, but here at one point the explanation becomes a little tiresome. And in the middle of the movie, I just did not find myself to be as engaged anymore. Only in the end does the film feel coherent with the themes that it is trying to explore. But despite that, everything, everywhere, all at once is a cinematic triumph. A24 knocks it out of the park once again, and I cannot wait to see what the Daniels come up with next because the way they are experimenting with the medium of cinema deserves to be applauded and supported by everyone. Their creative, weird, and original ideas need to be championed in this saturated market of movies that rarely push the boundaries. I really enjoyed the Doctor Strange sequel, but it's pretty evident which one's the superior multiverse movie. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Like, share, and subscribe. These things are quite important. You know the drill. Yeah, that's it. See ya. Bye bye.